Well, hi everyone. I thought it was time to do an update on the massive sinkhole that formed in Bangkok, Thailand as a result of underground construction. This occurred September 24th, 2025. I'm recording this video on October 16th, 2025. So a little over 3 weeks since this has happened. I'm going to tell you what's been happening since this collapse and what I think they need to do going forward to affect realistic repair here. So it's quite dramatic footage. This happened during daylight hours in the early morning of September 24th. Massive collapse. Fortunately, nobody was injured or killed in this disaster. Now, this happened right in front of Vajira Hospital in the Dusit district of Bangkok, Thailand. I think I called it Dusit my last video. I haven't lived in Thailand for about 30 years now, so I'm kind of rusty on some of my place names. Here's a closer view. This location of the hospital is just a few blocks from the Chao Phraya River, and the underground construction included tunnels and a subway station for the Purple Line, the mass transit system in Bangkok. And there's a police station that was undermined by this sinkhole formation. It looks like it's going to have to be torn down. Initially, after the collapse, they started immediately backfilling with concrete or grout. I don't think there was coarse aggregate in it. And they were doing that in a top-down fashion, and I didn't think that was going to be the way to go. I have experience with situations like this in the past. I'll go over with you what's typically done in this scenario. I think they're getting there, but initially indicated that it was going to be about a 2-week repair effort, and I thought, no way. And that's turned out to be the case. It's going to be a much longer effort, probably months long, once they get it all wrapped up, stabilized. And they have to do a lot of shoring to prevent additional adjacent buildings from having undue detrimental effects from this sinkhole formation. You see they're backfilling with sand now, but it's going to be a long time before they open up traffic in this area. This Samson Road where this occurred, again, is in front of that police station, but it's also in front of this Vajira Hospital. And this was about a week ago. The Bangkok governor, Chadchart Siddhapunt, said that reopening of traffic on Samson Road was going to be postponed indefinitely in the location of this sinkhole. They initially placed about 1,500 cubic meters of grout in this sinkhole to stabilize it, and they found it was running into the underground openings, which I would expect would have happened. You've got to fill these voids in the bottom first and keep new material from pushing down and out before you can stabilize the overlying ground. And I think they're getting there. And so they're referencing just that type of repair. They're drilling holes and injecting grout. This article references 8 locations. And once they have that stabilized and they're backfilling with sand, there's a picture of some of the tunnel liner for this associated construction, obviously prior to the collapse. This is a schematic that I got off of X. It's in Thai, but in general, you could see the sinkhole area. You could see soil that raveled into the portion of the tunnel that collapsed and into some of the interior spaces for the subway station. Quite the mess. But in order to backfill a sinkhole like this, you have to create a plug, a grout plug, so that it prevents additional material from moving down and laterally into the openings underground. And by the way, this was dramatic footage. The day this collapsed, they had some rescuers there. I think they were checking to see if there were any occupants in some of the vehicles that fell in the hole, and they barely got out in time here. This is pretty dramatic footage, and just some additional footage of that collapse. Again, it's a miracle no one was even injured in this situation. And as I mentioned in my previous video, you always have people standing right on the edge of a excavation or collapsing area of ground, and they often don't realize that what they're standing on could be undermined, and essentially they could be falling right into the hole in short order. Now, as I mentioned, I had previous experience in stabilizing a massive sinkhole. This was at a limestone mine. I did not take this picture. One of the first things I did when I got there was to tell people to move well away from the opening. In fact, in the slope around this sinkhole, there was cracks, a little scarp that was forming, and people were standing on the downhill side of the scarp, which is not where you want to be. So I got them all well uphill from that scarp, and you can see a massive amount of ground that collapsed here and ran into the underground mine works. You can see the soil profile, bunch of weathered shale, limestone at greater depths where the mine is. Not a great soil profile in terms of being able to be stable on its own. And that was the mistake they made. They drilled a hole for a mine vent and left it open for weeks before even attempting to install this mine vent. And before that could happen, they had this massive collapse. So again, I advised them, which turned out to be successful, is to basically grout the limestone mine in the immediate area of where the soil was running into to create a wall or a boundary to keep any additional soil from moving down and out. So they started there first, and then once that was stable, they were able to backfill the actual sinkhole. And you can see here's a photo of this article. And by the way, I've got all the links to these news articles in the description to this video, but you can see some drill rigs here. Obviously, they're drilling and injecting grout at these locations and doing exactly what I thought would need to be done in this situation. So I'll continue to follow this story. It's still quite dramatic and ongoing. With that, I want to send a shout out to those of you who've contributed to buy me a coffee. I think that's one of the better ways to support this channel. I also want to thank the channel members who typically preview these videos at least a day in advance of when they go public. And certainly I want to thank those of you who've contributed to Super Thanks. So stay tuned, everyone.